Padre Pio lived like few others. His life was marked by pain, faith, and an intimacy with the divine that went beyond the limits of human understanding. From a young age, he already demonstrated signs of an uncommon spirituality. The stigmata, the ecstasies, the gifts of bilocation, and reading souls were not just mystical phenomena. They were signs that something greater was being prepared. And among all the experiences he lived, there is one that remains shrouded in mystery, fear, and reverence. What Jesus is said to have revealed to him in the final moments before his death. It was not just any vision, nor a symbolic message. It was a direct, clear, and frightening prophecy about the last days of humanity. During his moments of deep prayer, Padre Pio reported encounters with Christ that went beyond contemplation. He said that Jesus spoke to him as a friend speaks to another, but with an intensity that made his soul tremble. In one of these experiences, already near the end of his life, Padre Pio is believed to have received a revelation that left him in a state of spiritual shock. He did not share everything with his followers, but he left clues, fragments, scattered phrases that, when put together, form a disturbing picture. He said, "The time of mercy is running out, and the time of justice approaches like a silent sword." This phrase, spoken with a trembling voice, was recorded by one of the friars who accompanied him in his last days. The revelation did not come with apocalyptic images, but with a presence so intense that Padre Pio could barely breathe. He is said to have seen the face of Christ, not as a crucified man, but as a glorious judge, clothed in light, yet with eyes that carried sorrow and urgency. Jesus is believed to have said, "My people have turned away, and the earth groans. Time will be shortened, and those who are not ready will be taken by the darkness." These words, according to testimonies preserved in letters and witnesses, were spoken with such force that Padre Pio's heart stopped for a moment. He did not know if he was alive or dead, but he knew that he had been touched by a truth that could not be ignored. The prophecy of the last days, according to this revelation, would not be marked by visible wars, but by a spiritual war that was already underway. Jesus is said to have shown Padre Pio a vision of humanity divided into two camps: those who kept the light, even in the midst of pain, and those who surrendered to darkness, even in the midst of comfort. He saw silent cities, empty churches, hardened hearts. And he heard the voice of Christ say, "When the altars are profaned and the innocent are silenced, heaven will move." Padre Pio wept when he heard this. He knew it was not a metaphor. It was a warning. In the following days, he spoke very little. He only prayed. His eyes were always moist, and his expression carried a gravity the friars had never seen. He said that the world is about to be purified not by fire, but by truth. And this truth, according to him, would be unbearable for many, because it would not come as comfort, but as a mirror. Jesus is believed to have said, "I will come as light, but those who live in lies will see darkness." This phrase, repeated by Padre Pio in his final moments, is considered by many to be the center of the prophecy. The idea that the presence of Christ will reveal what each person carries, not through external judgment, but through inner resonance. Padre Pio is also said to have seen signs. He spoke of 3 days of darkness, of a sky that would not answer, of voices that would be silenced. But he said that all of this was necessary. The earth must sleep to awaken new, he declared. And this renewal would not be collective, but individual. Each soul will be called to choose. And that choice would not be made with words, but with vibration. Jesus is believed to have said, "Those who know me by the heart will be guided. Those who know me only by the mouth will be lost." This distinction between lived faith and spoken faith was what most struck Padre Pio. He knew that many who claimed to be Christians were far from the truth, and that the time of pretense was ending. The revelation also included the role of the church. Padre Pio saw temples being closed, leaders falling silent, and people seeking answers in unexpected places. Jesus is said to have said, "My house will be shaken, and those who are in it for convenience will be cast out." This inner purification of faith, according to Padre Pio, will be painful but necessary. He said that the church will be smaller but more genuine, and that those who remain will be like torches in the midst of darkness. This image, of a few illuminating many, was repeated by him in his last confessions. What Jesus told Padre Pio before his death was not just a revelation, it was a calling A call and prepare, to warn, to awaken. Padre Pio knew he could not reveal everything, but he left clues. And these clues are becoming increasingly clear. The world is in transition. The signs are everywhere. And the prophecy of the last days is not about destruction, but about revelation. A revelation that begins in the heart, and that, according to Padre Pio, will be impossible to ignore. The vision of the end and the silent judgment. Padre Pio was not only a man of prayer, he was a man of visions. And among all the mystical experiences he lived, none was as intense as the one he received in the final days of his life, when, according to testimonies preserved by close friars, Jesus is said to have shown him what is to come. It was not a symbolic vision, nor a spiritual metaphor. It was a direct, clear, and disturbing revelation about the state of humanity and what will happen when the time of mercy comes to an end. Padre Pio saw the world as never before, not with the eyes of the flesh, but with the eyes of the Spirit, and what he saw left him silent for days. Jesus is said to have shown him a sequence of events that would begin with the collapse of truth. Padre Pio saw crowds chasing after lies, religious leaders distorting the gospel, and a new morality being imposed as virtue. He saw schools teaching the opposite of faith, families breaking apart because of ideologies, and young people being seduced by a darkness disguised as freedom. Jesus would have said, "When lies are celebrated and truth is persecuted, the time will be fulfilled." Padre Pio wept at this vision. He knew it was not a possibility. It was a certainty. The vision continued. He saw churches being closed, not by external persecution, but by internal abandonment. He saw priests losing faith, believers drifting away, and the altar being treated as a stage. Jesus would have said, "My house will be profaned, and those who remain in it out of convenience will be cast out." Padre Pio saw empty temples, fallen crosses, and silence taking over the places that were once filled with praise. And in that silence he heard the voice of Christ say, "Those who seek me in the desert will find me. Those who seek me in comfort will not see me." This reversal deeply struck the saint's heart. He knew the time of easy faith was ending. Then came the most frightening part. Padre Pio saw the heavens close. He saw the sun darken, the moon lose its light, and the stars go out. It was not an astronomical phenomenon. It was a spiritual sign. Jesus would have said, "The heavens will fall silent, so that men may hear themselves. And what men will hear will be unbearable, because, according to Revelation, each one will be confronted with their own truth. There will be no more excuses, no masks, no distractions. Every soul will see what it carries, and those who lived in lies will feel pain." Padre Pio saw people screaming, trying to escape from themselves, but without success, because judgment will not come from the outside. It will come from within. He also saw the earth respond. He saw earthquakes in unexpected places, seas flooding cities, and fire coming down from the sky, but not as punishment, as a response. Jesus would have said, "Creation will respond to the hearts of men, and the hearts of men are sick." Padre Pio saw forests destroyed, animals fleeing, and nature in revolt. But he also saw places of refuge, small communities in prayer, simple people living in peace, and lights shining amid the darkness. Jesus would have said, "Those who keep me in their hearts will be like torches at the end." And these torches will not be extinguished. The vision also revealed the role of the innocent. Padre Pio saw children being persecuted, not with physical violence, but with spiritual manipulation. He saw schools teaching the opposite of truth, social media shaping fragile minds, and a generation being prepared to forget God. Jesus would have said, "The little ones will be the first to see me and the last to be heard." Padre Pio wept at this. He knew the innocent would be the most attacked, but he also knew they would be the most protected, because, according to the revelation, angels will be with them, and those who defend them will be blessed. Finally, Padre Pio saw the moment of return, not as many imagine, with trumpets and visible glory, but in silence. Jesus would have said, "I will return as light, but those who live in darkness will not see me, and this light will be unbearable for those who chose lies." Padre Pio saw people trying to extinguish the light, to flee from it, to hide, but there will be nowhere to hide, because the light will reveal everything. And those who are ready will be lifted up, not physically, but spiritually. They will be transformed. They will be renewed. They will be sealed. This vision, according to reports, left Padre Pio in deep contemplation. He no longer spoke of healing, nor of miracles. He spoke of preparation. He said, "The time is closing, and those who do not kneel now will fall later. And this fall will not be visible. It will be internal. Because, as he said, the soul that does not prepare will be crushed by the truth. And this truth is coming, not as a threat, but as a revelation that begins in the heart, and which, according to Padre Pio, will be impossible to ignore. The echoes of prophecy in the time of separation. Padre Pio did not leave behind a book with organized chapters about the end times. He left fragments, scattered phrases, confessions and tears, and silences that spoke louder than words. But those who listened carefully, who recorded with reverence, realized that there was an invisible thread connecting it all, a revelation that was not only for him, but for all who would have the courage to listen. And now, so many years after his death, the signs he saw are manifesting with precision that unsettles even the most skeptical. The world is dividing, not by borders, but by vibration. And this silent separation is exactly what Jesus would have shown him. Padre Pio said that those who live in lies will not endure the light. And this light, according to him, would not come as a celestial event, but as a frequency that would pass through everything, a vibration that would reveal what is hidden, tear the veils, and expose hearts. And today, we see this happening. People who once seemed stable are falling apart. Hidden truths are coming to the surface. Masks are being removed, and this is no coincidence. It is because the light is arriving, and those unprepared for it are being confronted with what they always avoided, their own truth. The signs are everywhere. Padre Pio spoke of the inversion of values as the final warning. And today, that is exactly what we see. What was once considered sacred is now ridiculed. What was once sin is now celebrated. Faith has become a subject of mockery. Morality is seen as oppression, and those who defend the truth are persecuted as if they were enemies. Padre Pio foresaw this. Jesus would have said, "When mine are treated as criminals, and those who deny me are exalted, the time will be fulfilled." And that time has come, not as a marked date, but as an atmosphere that permeates everything. The church, according to Padre Pio, will be the first battlefield. He said that the enemy will not attack from the outside, but from within. And today, we see religious leaders remaining silent in the face of error, distorting teachings, negotiating principles. We see temples full of people, but empty of spirit. We hear speeches that please, but do not save. And all of this is part of the prophecy. Jesus would have said, "My house will be sifted, and those who remain will be like purified gold." And that sifting has already begun. The scandals, the divisions, the loss of credibility, all are symptoms of a purification that can no longer be avoided. Padre Pio also spoke of the innocents. He said that the little ones will be the first to feel it. And today, we see children bombarded by ideologies, by content that destroys the soul, by systems that want to erase the light they carry. Yet at the same time, we see children awakening, speaking of God naturally, having prophetic dreams, feeling things that adults ignore. Padre Pio said that the new prophets will come without titles, without pulpits, but with eyes that see beyond. And these prophets are already among us, silent yet powerful, because they carry truth in their hearts. Another sign he mentioned was the collapse of communication. He said that when everyone speaks, but no one listens, the time will be near. And today, we live exactly this. Social media has created an avalanche of voices, but no listening. Everyone wants to give their opinion, but few want to understand. Everyone wants to teach, but few want to learn. And in this noise, truth is lost. Padre Pio knew this would happen. Jesus would have said, "The world will drown in words, and those who seek silence will find me." And this silence is the new temple, the place where the soul can hear what the world does not say. Nature, too, is responding. Padre Pio spoke of the earth as the mirror of the human soul. And today, we see natural disasters on a growing scale. We see the climate destabilizing. We see animals changing their behavior. We see the planet crying out. And all of this reflects what is happening within us. Jesus would have said, creation groans with mankind, and when mankind falls silent, the earth will cry out. And the earth is crying out, not with hatred, but with pain, a pain that seeks healing, a pain that seeks reconnection, a pain that can only be relieved when man returns to what he was created to be, the image of the divine. Padre Pio also foresaw time folding in on itself. He said that the days will seem shorter and the years faster. And today, everyone feels this. Time is accelerating. Weeks pass like days, months like weeks. And it is not just a sensation, it is a sign. Jesus would have said, time will be cut short so that the chosen will not be lost. And that shortening has already begun. Not on the clock, but in the soul. Those who are awake feel it. They feel that something is coming. They feel they must prepare. They feel there is no more time for distractions. Because the time of choice has arrived. Perhaps, in looking at all of this, we can understand that prophecy is not about destruction. It is about revelation. Padre Pio did not want to frighten. He wanted to warn, to prepare, to inspire each one to look within and ask, am I ready for the light? Because this light will not come with spectacle. It will come with silence. It will come with truth. It will come with love, but a love that heals through pain, a love that reveals with intensity, a love that cannot be ignored. The forgotten of the earth and the chosen of heaven, Padre Pio always had a special gaze for the humble. He used to say that those who have nothing are the ones who carry God the most. And this phrase, which once sounded like an expression of compassion, gained a prophetic weight in the last days of his life. Because, according to what he is said to have received from Jesus, the final days would not be led by the powerful, the influential, or those who rule over systems. They would be lived and sustained by the persecuted, the forgotten, those ignored by the world but recognized by heaven. And this inversion, this silent turning point, will be the clearest sign that the time of divine justice had arrived. Jesus is said to have told Padre Pio, those who were silenced will be my voice. Those who were humiliated will be my glory. And Padre Pio saw this. He saw simple people, never considered important, becoming pillars of light in the midst of darkness. He saw farmers, single mothers, abandoned elders, rejected children, all being touched by an invisible force, a presence that lifted them up spiritually. He used to say that those who have nothing to lose are the ones who have the most to give. And that offering would not be material, but vibrational, a surrender of the soul, a purity that cannot be manufactured, only lived. The prophecy showed that the persecuted would be the first to understand what was happening. Padre Pio saw Christians being ridiculed, people of faith being excluded, and those who defended the truth being treated as enemies. But he also saw that within the suffering there was an activation. Jesus is said to have told him, pain will be the seal of my chosen ones. And this seal would not be visible, but recognized by the angels. Padre Pio saw crowds in silence, praying in secret, keeping the flame alive even when all seemed lost. And that flame, according to him, would be what sustained the world when the collapse arrived. The humble, according to the vision, would not be mere spectators. They would be protagonists. Padre Pio said, those who were never heard will be the ones who speak with authority. And that authority would not come from titles, but from presence, a presence that transforms environments, that heals without touch, that teaches without words. Jesus is said to have said, those who carry me in their hearts will be like torches in the night. And those torches are already lit, in forgotten villages, in persecuted communities, in silent homes. The light is spreading, not through the media, but through the soul. Padre Pio also saw the rejected being exalted. He said, those who were called crazy will be recognized as prophets. And today, we see this happening. People who once spoke of deep spirituality, of connection with God, of invisible truths, were ignored, ridiculed, silenced. But now, their words are being remembered. Their teachings are being rediscovered. Because, according to the prophecy, What was despised will become the cornerstone, and that cornerstone is being placed at the center, not by men, but by God. The forgotten of the earth will be the chosen of heaven. Padre Pio saw this with clarity. He said, those who are left behind will be the first to enter, and this entrance will not be physical, but spiritual, an elevation, a transformation, a revelation. Jesus is said to have told him, those who sought me in silence will be the ones who see me in the light, and that light will not be visible to ordinary eyes. It will be perceived by those with a pure heart, by the inner child still alive, by the faith that was never extinguished. Padre Pio knew that this faith does not lie in speeches. It lies in gestures, in the small acts of love, of surrender, of truth. The prophecy also revealed that those persecuted for defending the truth would be rewarded. Padre Pio saw people being expelled from their families, from their churches, from their social circles because they refused to remain silent before lies. And Jesus is said to have told him, those who suffer for me will be crowned by me. This crown will not be made of gold. It will be made of light, a light that cannot be stolen nor extinguished, a light that will be seen by all when the veil is torn. Padre Pio used to say, the glory of the last days will be silent, yet irresistible. And that glory is already manifesting. Perhaps, by looking at those who were forgotten, we can understand that the prophecy is not about the great. It is about the true. Padre Pio did not speak to impress. He spoke to prepare. And those who listen with their hearts are ready. Because, as he used to say, when everything falls, the ones still standing will be those who never bow to lies. And these will be the pillars of the new era. Not by strength, but by faith. Not by power, but by presence. Not by fame, but by truth. The angels of the last vigil, and the heavens that do not remain silent. Padre Pio always had an intimate relationship with the angels. Since childhood, he said that his guardian angel accompanied him at all times, helped him in prayer, and protected him in spiritual battles. But in the last days of his life, this presence intensified. He began to speak more frequently about the heavenly armies that were taking their positions, about the messengers of light who would descend to earth, and about the divine intervention that would come when all seemed lost. According to the accounts preserved by friars and close devotees, Padre Pio is said to have received a clear revelation from Jesus. The angels will be the invisible protagonists of the final chapter. Jesus is said to have told him, when men fall silent, the heavens will speak, and those who listen will be saved. Padre Pio saw this. He saw the sky opening in silence, without spectacle, but with a force that pierced everything. He saw angels descending upon cities, upon villages, upon homes in prayer. They did not come with swords, but with light, a light that healed, that revealed, that awakened. He used to say, the angels will not come to punish, but to protect those who have chosen the truth. And this protection will not be visible to common eyes, but it will be felt by those in tune with heaven. Padre Pio also saw the heavenly signs. He spoke of stars that would shift position, of lights appearing in the sky without explanation, a phenomena that would confuse scientists but will be understood by those with faith. Jesus is said to have declared, the heavens will give signs, but only the pure will understand. And these signs have already begun. People report lights in the sky, sound with no physical origin, sensations of divine presence at unexpected moments. Padre Pio used to say, heaven is closer than we think, and those who look with the heart already see it. The divine intervention, according to Revelation, will not be a single event, but a sequence of subtle, precise, and deeply spiritual actions. Padre Pio saw angels entering hospitals, prisons, schools, touching hearts, awakening consciences, protecting the innocent. He said, those who remain in prayer will be surrounded by light. And this light will be like a shield, not against bullets, but against despair, not against illness, but against the loss of faith. Jesus is said to have told him, those who call upon me with sincerity will be heard, even in the midst of chaos. And that listening will be the difference between falling and rising. Padre Pio also saw the angels acting in the most critical moments. He spoke of 3 days of darkness, of a silence that would cover the world, and of a light that would appear in the middle of the night. Jesus is said to have promised, When all seems lost, mine will come with light. And this light will be like a beacon for those in darkness. Padre Pio used to say, those who keep the faith will be guided by invisible hands. And those hands are the angels, beings who do not need to be seen to be real, who do not need to be understood to be felt. The prophecy also revealed that the angels would be the messengers of separation. Padre Pio saw multitudes being divided, not by appearance, but by vibration. Those who carry light will be lifted up. Those who carry lies will be confronted. And this separation will be carried out by the angels. Jesus is said to have said, mine will recognize mine, and those who are not mine will not endure the presence. Padre Pio used to say, the light of the angels will reveal what is hidden. And this revelation will be the beginning of a new era, an era in which truth will no longer be negotiated, but lived. The angels will also be the comforters. Padre Pio saw people in despair being embraced by invisible presences, feeling peace in the midst of chaos, receiving strength when all seemed lost. He said, those who weep with faith will be comforted with light, and this light will be like a balm. Jesus is said to have promised, those who seek me in the midst of pain will be touched by my presence, and that presence will come through the angels, beings who carry divine love, who do not judge, who do not condemn, but who sustain those who have chosen the narrow path. Perhaps, by looking at the signs that come from heaven, we can understand that prophecy is not about fear. It is about presence. Padre Pio did not speak of angels as distant figures, but as real companions, active, ready to act. And those who believe, those who open themselves, those who surrender, are already being touched. Because, as he used to say, the heavens are not silent. We simply do not know how to listen. And now, more than ever, it is time to listen, before the veil is torn, before the light reveals, before time is sealed. The pure in heart and the hidden key of salvation. Padre Pio always said, true faith does not need explanation. It lives in the hearts of the simple. And that phrase, which many took as just an expression of humility, was in fact a spiritual key, because, according to what he is said to have received from Jesus in his final days, the end times would not be overcome through theology, scholarship, or strength. They would be endured by the pure, by those who hold on to faith the way a child holds the hand of their father, by those who have not been lost in the complexity of the world, but who remain steadfast in the simplicity of love. And this purity, according to Revelation, will be the invisible shield against the spiritual collapse to come. Jesus is said to have told him, those who know me with their hearts will be guided. Those who know me only with their lips will be lost. Padre Pio saw this clearly. He saw multitudes who could speak about God, but did not know how to live with him. He saw religious leaders with flawless speeches, but empty hearts. He saw temples full of words, yet poor in presence. And at the same time, he saw children in silence, praying with sincerity. He saw forgotten elders, but with eyes shining with faith. He saw simple people without titles, without influence, but carrying a light that could not be extinguished. And that light, he said, would be what sustained the world when everything else collapsed. Padre Pio used to say, purity is not the absence of error. It is the presence of truth. And truth cannot be taught. It must be recognized. The pure in heart are not perfect, but they are genuine. They stumble, but they repent. They fall, but they rise again. And they never stop seeking. Jesus is said to have told him, those who seek me with tears will be found in the light. And that light will not be visible to ordinary eyes. It will be felt. It will be lived. It will be recognized by those with a clean heart. Padre Pio knew that this cleansing does not come from rituals, but from surrender, a surrender that does not demand explanation, only trust. According to the prophecy, children will be the first to perceive the change. Padre Pio saw children having prophetic dreams, speaking of things they had never been taught, sensing presences that adults ignored. He said, the little ones have eyes that see the invisible, and those eyes are already open. Children who speak of light, of angels of difficult times. Children who cry for no apparent reason, yet carry a spiritual sensitivity that defies logic. Jesus is said to have told him, those who become like them will pass through the fire without being burned. And that fire is truth, a truth that purifies, that reveals, that transforms. Padre Pio also saw the humble being lifted up. He said, "Those who were never seen will be the first to enter, and this entrance will not be physical, it will be spiritual. An elevation, a transformation, a revelation." Jesus is said to have told him, "Those who sought me in silence will be the ones who see me in the light." And that light will be like a portal that cannot be opened by force, but only by faith, a faith that does not need proof, because it is already certain. Padre Pio knew that this certainty is not taught, it is lived, and those who live it are already ready, even without realizing it. The prophecy also showed that those who preserve simple faith will become the guides of the new era. Padre Pio saw ordinary people being sought by multitudes, not because of fame, but because of presence. He saw mothers praying in silence being recognized as spiritual pillars. He saw humble workers treated as masters. And all of this, not because of human merit, but by divine choice. Jesus is said to have told him, "Those who carry me without knowing will be the ones who sustain the world." And this sustenance will be invisible, yet real, a force unseen, yet holding everything together. Padre Pio also spoke about the importance of keeping the heart pure. He said, "Those who cling to resentment will not see the light." And this cleansing is not about perfection. It is about forgiveness. The pure in heart are not those who never failed, but those who never stopped loving. Jesus is said to have told him, "Those who forgive will be forgiven, and those who love will be lifted up." And this love will be the key that opens a portal, the key that passes through judgment, the key that transforms the end into a beginning. Perhaps, when we look at the simple, the pure, those who live with silent faith, we can understand that the prophecy is not about the great. It is about the true. Padre Pio did not speak to impress. He spoke to prepare. And those who listen with their hearts are ready. Because, as he used to say, when everything falls, the ones still stand will be those who never bow before the lie. And they will be the pillars of the new era, not through strength, but through faith, not through power, but through presence, not through fame, but through truth, the day after the revelation, and the earth reborn in silence. Padre Pio did not see the end as an explosion. He saw it as silence, a silence that does not destroy, but reveals, a silence that does not end, but begins. And according to what Jesus is said to have shown him in the final moment of his life, the spiritual judgment would not be a spectacle for the eyes. It would be an earthquake for the soul, a shaking that would pass through every human being, every structure, every system. And after that shaking, light would come, not the light that comforts, but the light that transforms, a light that can no longer be ignored, because it will not be outside, it will be within. Padre Pio used to say that the world will not be destroyed, it will be unveiled. And this unveiling has already begun. Masks have fallen, lies have been exposed, hearts have been confronted, and now what remains is a choice. Because, according to the prophecy, judgment is not a sentence. It is an opportunity, a chance to be reborn, to restart, to live in truth. Jesus is said to have said, "Those who recognize me in pain will be lifted into the light." And this lifting will not be visible, but will be real, a new consciousness, a new vibration, a new way of existing. Padre Pio saw the earth reorganizing itself. He saw communities rising in the midst of chaos. He saw people gathering not because of ideology, but because of resonance. He saw homes turning into temples. He saw families rebuilding themselves upon faith. And all of this not through human strength, but through divine presence. Jesus is said to have said, "Those who keep me at the center will be sustained." And this sustenance will be invisible, yet unbreakable, a strength that does not depend on circumstances, but on connection. Padre Pio used to say that those who live with God have no reason to fear the world. And now, this truth is manifesting with clarity. The new era will not be announced. It will be lived. Padre Pio saw simple people becoming guides. He saw the pure in heart being sought by crowds. He saw those who were once persecuted being exalted. And all of this not through human merit, but by divine choice. Jesus is said to have said, Those who carry me without knowing will be the ones who sustain the new time. And this new time will be silent, yet powerful. An era in which truth will no longer be negotiated, but embodied. An era in which faith will no longer be discourse, but presence. Padre Pio also saw those who resisted the light being confronted with their own darkness. He used to say that those who chose a lie will live with it until they choose the truth. And this choice will be constant, because judgment is not a moment. It is a process of purification, of realignment, of rebirth. Jesus is said to have said, "Those who seek me with sincerity will be guided, even if they have been lost." And this guidance will come through angels, through dreams, through signs. For heaven does not remain silent. It only waits for the heart to open. The earth will also be touched. Padre Pio saw forests being restored, animals beginning to trust men again, rivers returning to sing. He used to say that creation responds to human spirit. And when the spirit aligns with God, the earth blooms. Jesus is said to have said, "Those who care for my creation will be rewarded with peace." And this peace will be the new soil, the place where the new humanity will be planted, a humanity that does not live for itself, but for the whole, that does not seek power, but presence, that does not feed on lies, but on light. Padre Pio also saw those who had been forgotten being remembered. He used to say that those who suffered in silence will be honored in light. And this honor will not be public. It will be spiritual, an elevation that needs no applause, for it is already recognized in heaven. Jesus is said to have said, "Those who serve me without being seen will be the first to enter." And this entry will mark the beginning of a new era, an era in which love will be the law, in which truth will be the way, in which presence will be the temple. Perhaps, as we look at all of this, we can understand that prophecy is not about the end. It is about the beginning. Padre Pio did not see destruction. He saw revelation. He did not see condemnation. He saw a choice. He did not see fear. He saw light. And this light is already among us, in simple gestures, in sincere prayers, in hearts that did not surrender. Because, as he used to say, when everything falls, those who remain standing will be the ones who never kneel before the lie. And these will be the builders of the new earth, not by strength but by faith, not by power but by presence, not by fame but by truth,